Gideon's 10 years, and when I joined, New Jersey had just under 1,000 members. We now have 534. We have lost almost half of our membership in 10 years. Now, some of that has to do with retirement, people moving to warmer climates or wherever their grandkids live. Some of that has to do with graduating to the kingdom, and a lot of it, unfortunately, has to do with not renewing their dues and just dropping out of the ministry. So it is important that we not only do dues retention, but it's also important that we recruit new members through personal recruitment as well as AMDs. We need to get our membership back up for a couple of reasons. We need the financial support of additional members, and we also need new members that we can mentor to take over the positions that we have been doing for so long. A lot of people are dropping out of the ministry because they've lost their passion, and part of the reason they've lost their passion is that they have just been in the same position, same group of guys doing the same thing year in and year out, and we need to understand the guidebook reasoning for 3-year terms. You don't get burned out. You don't lose your passion when you mentor your replacements. New members don't become inactive if they're being mentored to do something inside. There's a couple of things that Randy might get into. If he doesn't, keep this in mind. When you take a leadership position in the camp cabinet, you need to identify your replacement and mentor that replacement. If you don't do that, then the new members that you're going to bring in from these events, the first year is the most important year of their membership, because if they don't get involved in the ministry that first year, they're going to quickly become inactive members. And one of the errors that we all make, my own camp, which is considered one of the healthier camps of the state, makes this mistake all the time. And that is, we have someone be a chair, whether it be church chair, faith month chair, Gideon card chair, scripture chair, whatever, and they do it all alone. And they shouldn't. They should have at least 1 or 2 members in the camp helping them. And that's how you identify your replacement. That's how you mentor new members into the camp ministry duties, is that you don't try to do it all yourself. You have to take these new members that you're going to get from your AMDs, and you need to mentor them into the role of the ministry, and they don't have to be a member of the cabinet to be working with cabinet members. And it's a lot easier to do the church ministry chair or the Gideon card chair or the scripture chair if you have 1 or 2 other camp members helping you do that job. So enough from me, Randy. Thank you very much for coming down here. And have you found your new house in New Jersey yet?
No, but I was walking around some great neighborhoods today. It's not a lot. I'm staying at the Comfort Suites up in Lawa. And nice neighborhoods over there. And I know residents over there. Someplace, so you must do very well.
Oh yeah.
I want everybody to take one of these, and as I think you probably already heard, this is you may have heard it roundabout about the who do you know sheet. And that's what this is. I'm going to talk about it. Some of you men look like you're extremely capable people, and you might want to take this presentation and and show it at some other camps, and you'll see why. I think this is an interesting thing when you start talking about replacing yourself. You know, we've got some real paradigms in the Gideon ministry that we sometimes need to overcome. And it's the first two. So the second one is like the second page of the first one. Same, that's not this. Take the first two. So the title of this presentation, as you can see, is Prospecting for, Praying for, Preparing for Your Annual Membership Dinner. Now, I think we have some veteran Gideons in this room, and you all are probably thinking right now about your annual membership dinner. I joined the Gideon ministry at what they called a one-on-one meeting. Guess what? That's an AMD. It's been done pretty much the same way for years, and it's a wonderful way of doing it because, you know, you're really, what you're doing is you're asking and you're inviting your friends, people you know, to join this ministry, people you like. I mean, isn't that good? You should have to be involved with people that you like, people that you're involved with, people you know from church and so on. So this forum that you're getting, this who do you know sheet, I want you to, while I'm speaking, you all have pens? I see Richard's got a pen. John's got a pen. Most of you have pens. If you don't have a pen, I may have a couple. Everybody got a pen?
I have one of them.
All right. If you're a salesman, you don't have a pen, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But as I'm speaking, I would like you to look at those things, and you'll see on there right away that, where is this guy here? Like, most of you guys look like you're old enough to have a son. Now, in this case, you know, like the first line there, it says your son. My son, I always wanted him to be a Gideon. As a matter of fact, he signed up to be a Gideon when he was selling cars. He found out he didn't like to sell cars. He went into ministry instead. But he was a Gideon for about a month. But the thing is you can put down, you know, if your son, if he goes, just write the name down. Or as you see the next one here, your grandson. Oh, you know, perhaps, you know, you've got a son or a grandson who's a business or a professional man. You write the name down. Now, one of the things if you start putting down on a sheet like that, you're already thinking something. And I want you to, like, take your mind and erase this right now. You're thinking of something like, well, I can't put down my son, my grandson, my insurance man, because they won't join. Stop it. Forget it. We're not thinking about who could join or who might join. This is write the name down, because we're going to pray for these people. All right? So, you know, as I go through this, I want to just put down some triggers every once in a while about somebody that you might be thinking about. You're already thinking, I can't do this. You can do this. Just write the name down. Okay, just write the names down. Okay, because we're going to do this about your annual membership dinner in New Jersey. Now, how many people have had an annual membership, an AMD in your camp? Let me see you raise your hands. Were they all successful? No. What happened? Well, yeah, they were immediately. I heard no.
We had people come, but they just didn't sign.
Okay. And how many came?
We had a couple of one couple and another guy.
The one previously they signed up somebody. The one we had with Lakeland and Ramapo.
And you're being gracious. You know why I say that? And I know Ren's probably done it, or maybe Angel's done it. I've been a speaker at an AMD meeting many times. The state membership coordinator, the Ren, call you up and say, Randy, I'm going to assign you to such and such a camp to do the membership dinner. Can your wife be the auxiliary speaker? And more times than not, I would agree to do that. And where I started in the Gideon ministry was in Jamestown, New York. Those of you who know where Jamestown is, it's at the far end of New York State, almost here in Pennsylvania, over in the corner where Pennsylvania wraps around. Chautauqua County, Chautauqua Lake, yeah. And that's the furthest camp over, so almost everything that you're going to do is to the east. And we would drive a couple hours sometimes to go to a camp meeting in Rochester, or maybe even as far away as Binghamton, where it's even further than a 2-hour drive. You get all the way there, you get to the meeting, and you walk inside and you meet your Gideon brothers and friends and so on. They'll say, "Boy, it's good to have you here. Only problem is, no one's coming." No one's coming. So now what do? You got to come up with something to talk to them about. And usually, if you're going to yell at them for having a lousy meeting. That's encouraging. What a wonderful opportunity in the Gideon ministry to go in there and chastise somebody for not doing a good job when they're already upset and depressed about it. Right? So, but it's different. We can do better. Okay? Well, first of all, let's get some background. Annual means annual. I've heard today, I think I talked to Angel on the phone, and said that they had an AMD meeting like 3 years ago. Well, it doesn't mean biannual or, triannual. Annual means every year, right? We're supposed to do it every year. But why do they do that? For those of you who've been to International Convention, you'll know that they make a decision every year, and we all vote on it as a ministry. We're going to have an annual membership dinner in every camp in America every year. All in favor? Aye. Right? So we're supposed to have one every year. Now, it shouldn't be something where it's like a drudgery. It can be different. It can be different. Okay, annual comes every year. But here's I was just talking about, not enough prospects come. Or if they come, they don't know what they're there for.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those of you who are in sales, how many times are you going to sell something if you don't ask for an order?
Never.
Very seldom. Now, there's a lot of people in this room that might be in sales, but there's some that probably aren't. And they're intimidated by it. But if you're going to invite somebody to come to a meeting, a dinner meeting, to share with them about what this ministry is all about, don't you think they have an idea why they're there? It's almost a logical expectation to ask them to join. And we can do that. But we don't get enough prospects to come to the dinner. Why? How many have put some names on the sheet? We got one? Okay, no, right? I see pens on the table. Put them in your hand and write down, and try to read down through, who you sit next to in the choir. Who's in your Sunday school class?
I remember you have to write these names, so don't.
All right, we'll tell you what we're going to do with the names when we're all done. Okay?
My 3 names have to become a member of the church in good standing, so that's a big paragraph.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, don't start getting hung up on our pastor will never approve of this person. Stop. Get that out of your mind. Remove it.
You're not in charge.
Yeah, don't think this way, right? They won't join. They're too busy. Stop it. Stop it, Dan. Don't think this way. Right? So, put the names down. Write the names down. They come to your mind. The person you sit next to in church. My insurance man. The guy you buy whatever from at whatever store. The guy that calls on you. Or, if you're a salesman, the guy that you call on. Don't just write it down, Rich. Write it down. Just write it down. Because you're thinking of them. You're thinking of them. I know you are. Anyway, this is one of the reasons we don't have enough prospects at our dinner. If your camp is like mine, what date are we going to have our AMD? Oh, let's have it in March. Great. What day we gonna have local 11th? Where the camp meeting will be the 3rd. Okay, here we are in August, and we're thinking, March is like forever. That's so far away. We have plenty of time to think about it. September comes, October comes, November comes. How many are coming to the dinner? What dinner? Our AMD, we're gonna have one in March. Oh, that's right. I still got plenty of time. We start putting it off. We don't start thinking about this until it is too late. Here's what happens. We can't, we won't, it's too busy, there's too many things going on, the traffic's too light, the traffic's too heavy, excuses. We're so good at excuses, you know, we all do it. If you're thinking you don't have excuses, what's an excuse? You do. Everyone has excuses. I don't know anybody. Oh, that's what it does. Of course you know somebody. Hang on. But you put your hands in your lap. So you put your right. Just write them down. You know these. You know people. Everybody here knows somebody. Everybody here knows somebody. There aren't enough Christian business professionals around here. Really. I was in a neighborhood today that they've got to be coming out of the seams. You know? Some of you go to little churches, some of you go to big churches. I go to a small church, there's 35 of us. There are 2 Gideons in our church. There should be 3. We're working on it like that. That's 10%. Most church, if you go to a church of 500 people, for instance, chances are there's 50 prospects in that church. You know who they are. How many teachers do you know? Write it down. Teachers. How about doctors? Ooh, doctor won't come to our camp meeting. Our camp meeting is too boring or it's not professional enough. How about your accountant? How about your lawyer? We've asked everybody before. We've asked everybody. So everybody we've asked, you know, they know why we're calling them. When does the sale start, Ren?
Second,
Well, a sale.
the sale starts in the mind of the buyer.
Okay, but does the sale start, and what do you say, like, what do you always, without any objections, you always get the sale?
No,
Right here. No. The
Not
sale
always.
starts at no. Because there's always objections. There's always objections. Now, I'm not going to say this is a sales course, but the fact is that most of the time people are going to reject you. They're too busy. They're going to say that. How many here are blessed with the Gideon ministry? Wow. Don't you think you're to bless somebody else? The churches around here are too liberal. We don't have any churches here that will support us. The churches around here are too conservative. I've had both things come up. They're just excuses. We have enough people in our camp now. Really? And when that happens, it happens up here. It happens in Texas. It happens in Hong Kong. I called on the camps in Hong Kong for 5 years. And they go, oh, we got plenty of people. They got 8 million people, 71 games. 1,200 usable churches in Hong Kong. Do they have enough people? No way. No way. So it's not just here. It's everywhere. We're going to shift over to the connection. I decided not to do a hookup, take too long. How many here use the connection? Good percentage here. It's because they're technical people up here, so that's why. You know, but you go to the connection, and of course, over here on the left-hand side, under camp activities, you can pull down the membership tab. You click on, oops, and you can click on that, and you can get inside, and you go over to the right-hand side under the membership, and one of the opportunities in there under the membership side on the right is the annual membership dinner materials. And you'd be surprised how much stuff is in there for just AMD. The agenda for the meeting is in there, all the materials and things that you should have. The who do you know sheet. By the way, are you writing down on the who do you know sheet?
Oh, yeah.
You're writing down names? Yeah, okay, good, because I'm watching. I'm watching. Yeah, we got, so this is another opportunity to write things down, like who's your son-in-law? Your son-in-law, is he qualified?
No.
Great for him, right? Anyway, and you click on that tab, and here's all these things here that associated with the annual membership dinner. One of them is the annual membership dinner timeline. For those of you who are planners, people who like to plan ahead, the Guineas have a really cool interactive sheet that will help you to do this. Now this goes all the way up to a year before the AMD, and about what you should do and who can be involved in each one of those things. These are the folks unlike me who like to plan. How many here like to plan? Well, good. I'm glad you get planners here. I was never a good planner. I'm a doer. I'm one of these guys that let's do this tomorrow. You know, it drives the planners crazy, right? But I'm that guy. So I'll probably fit right into your camp. But anyway, a year in advance, like we want to make sure that the camp, you have the AMD on your calendar. I'm going to use the annual plan and make an intention. Amen. So you put this in there, and this is a big help to Ren and to Jerry, by the way, because they're asked questions. How many AMDs you have scheduled in your state or whatever? And I'll say, well, looks like you only got 3, and it's not true. Okay, because in New York, for instance, there's 68 camps. That means we should have 68 AMDs, because that's what we do with the Guineas, right? Because we all have their annual membership dinner, right? Of course you don't, right? But the thing is that we should have a good percentage. Well, not every camp uses the camp planner. So I call Ren's counterpart in New York State, and I said, well, how many AMDs are we having in the state? And he said, we're going to have 34, 35, something like that. Half of them, that's, I don't like to say it, but that's pretty good. Okay? But some will be together jointly with other camps, which is a good thing to do. Up here in this part of the state, there's a lot of camps in a relatively small geographical area. You can double up. It looks better, by the way. When you bring prospects in, you know, they see there's others there. But that's a whole other sidebar. But when you pop this information in there, then you'll be able to get a better idea about how many you're having. But in New York, for instance, there's only 13, I think, 12 or 13 that were in there, and they were really going to have 3 times that. Well, people do look at that stuff. What are you doing? What are you doing? Going on. No one's having any AMD. Well, I already know that there's like 27 scheduled, and they're going to be scheduled in New Jersey. It's awesome. Okay, if you're going to do this, this is why we prepare. This is why we have the planner. This is why we do the who do you know sheet, of which you should be filling out. Right? So, like, who is your accountant? Right? You know, who is your accountant? A good person. Sunday school teacher. How about those who are on your board at your church? Most people that are on the board, or a deacon, or an elder, I think the numbers are something like 60, 62, 63% are potential Guineans because of their profession. They're usually people that are very respected. Who's on the board? Who sits next to you at church? Who sings in the choir? So anyway, you have a year in advance, 6 months in advance, 5 months in advance, 3 months, 2 months, 6 weeks, 1 month prior, these are all the things that you should be doing to prepare. What happens when you prepare well for something in advance? You increase or you decrease your chances of success? You definitely increase, because you're thinking about it, number one, you're preparing for it, number two. And so you're not leaving it up to chance or happenstance. You're working on it. And the who do you know sheet is a big important part of that, because these are the people you're going to invite. But we're not going to just react. We're going to do something different with these names. So put them down. Write them down. There's some other neat little handy things in the connection, like the membership qualifications guide. I'm sure you've all seen that.
You are.
You're all like, what is that? Basically, it's a sheet about all the different things you can do to be a minister. And you can find out what people like to do, what is in the right, in basically their wheelhouse. Maybe someone likes to go on distributions and so on and place God's word in the hands of somebody else. Maybe somebody else is a good witnesser or wants to learn how to witness to someone else. Or someone would like to call on pastors and pray with them. I love doing that. That's one of my favorite things to do in a getting ministry, is to go meet pastors and pray with them. And you know, like Angel told me a story just a while ago, just about praying with a pastor who was so overwhelmed he started to cry. And it sounded like the service was late that day because of the prayers of the Gideons when they were praying for this brother. It's very moving, and it means a lot. But there's all kinds of opportunities in the Gideons that sometimes what turns one person on may not turn somebody else on. This is why we put down people who are engineers. How many engineers do you know? There you go. Engineers like to plan. Engineers like to make sure things are done peacefully in order, and if they don't aren't peacefully done in order, they're probably not going to work. My brother's an engineer. That's exactly the way he thinks. We have to do this, and then this, and if we don't do this, this won't work. So everything is done properly. Makes sense. We need people like that. We need people like me. We need people like Dan. We need people like John. So write them down. Put down your engineer friends. Put down the history teacher. School teachers are awesome. All right, contacting existing Gideons about this form. You see, this form is on the connection. I even got more hard copies here for those of you who don't have a computer or a printer. I got more. Take these to your camp members and do the same thing with them. Give it to them and encourage them to fill it out. You know, I was at one of these meetings doing the same thing I'm doing with you guys. You may think it's even like why in the world does he keep asking me to write down my accountant? Why in the world does he tell me to write down this person, that person, my son, my son-in-law? This is getting silly. So I asked one guy who I've known for years, he used to work for the state of New York, by the way, engineer. And sitting there, he goes to a big church. 3,500 people goes to this church. I said, Brother Dick, how many names you got on your sheet? I don't have anybody. I said, you don't know anybody? I can't think of anybody. And I wanted to call him out, but I didn't. I went to the person next to her, which was one of our auxiliary members. I said, Peggy, how many are on your sheet? 68. 68? She goes, how you doing it? Well, she was going through a church directory. You know, that's why Angel said, bring your church directories, because what you can do is you start flipping the pages. Oh, I didn't think of that guy. You know, he owns a furniture store. I never thought of that guy. He's flipping, going, oh, there's the family doctor. Oops. Oh, that guy, he writes software. You know, he works in his house. What does he mean? You know, start flipping, you start coming up with different names. She said she was going through church directories. I said, well, I know what church you go to. I don't think you got 68 people at your church. Well, these are old directories. 20, 30-year-old directories. I said, probably most of those guys are dead. He goes, the kids aren't? Wow. Now that's out of the box thinking.
That's interesting.
So she had 68 names on that list. So it can be done. Now, so you contact the existing Gideons if you can. Have do the same thing. If you have your own church directory, like I know Angel goes to a really big church, I'm sure that he doesn't know everybody in that church. But if he gave that directory to somebody else in his camp, they may go and see some people they know that they didn't even think about. So you could take that same directory, pass it on to somebody else and look through it, and they will come up with others that are potential person. We do limit ourselves in our thinking. Now, we're not going to ask anybody to do anything we wouldn't do ourselves. And we shouldn't feel uncomfortable with this, or even asking them or inviting them to come to a meeting, because this is God's word. And we don't always know who God is calling. He called you. He's blessed you in this ministry. Perhaps he's got the same thing planned for someone else. Why are we doing this? Why are we encouraging people to think of them on their own, not just going directly to their pastors? How many here are calling them pastors now on a regular basis? Okay. What's going on in churches today is getting more and more difficult to get names from pastors. We go into all the reasons why. And there's many. But it's not unusual, not only here, but all throughout Zone 9, really all throughout the country and even the world. Pastors are protecting their people. All kinds of reasons. It's not always universal, but it's not uncommon to go to a pastor who supports the Gideon ministry and not get names. We know the same people they do. We just need to go about it going differently. Now, does that mean that we don't ask the pastor to recommend their people? There's no reason why we can't get their name on the line and get their first years of dues, and then go to the pastor for their letter of recommendation. That's standard procedure. We don't need their approval beforehand. So we can get these names on our own. So we've got all kinds of forms and things and connections. And here's the who do you know sheet again. So we've got, again, who is the deacon, the elder, who sings in the choir, who's listed in your church directory. I'm telling you, you just go flipping through that book, and you're going to see people that you never even thought about as you're taxing your brains now. Because every name you could possibly think of is on that sheet right now. And here's Peggy Fichter. Had 68 names on her list. Auxiliary. Who used to attend your church? No, so you got people that were there before and aren't there anymore. That doesn't mean they were called home to go to the Lord. It's not like they went from your church to another church. They probably didn't leave the faith. You know, whatever the reason is, they went to a different church for whatever reason. Probably still your friends. Who do you do business with? Who have you served with on a committee? At church? Maybe at work. I worked at a very big company. There was a lot of believers in that company. A lot of them need to know the Lord. Anyway, or you have the opportunity to work for the Lord. So the who do you know? Like I just mentioned here, you mean I don't need the recommendation of the pastor? Yes, you do. What if they're too busy? Now, some of you are already thinking that. I can't put such and such a name down because I know they're too busy. Put their name down anyway. Or somebody that you've asked before, put their name down anyway. Things change. There's not one person in this room that's not too busy. we're all too busy. And yet you're here. Because in your heart of hearts, you know we need to have revitalization of this ministry. New Jersey, at one, what did we have, was about 800 members about 10 years, 12 years ago, something like that.
10 years ago, we had 1,000 members, and now we have about 500.
So we need to keep revitalizing, yes, Dean?
Even if they're very busy, we can ask them to pray.
Sure.
If they, they can get engaged in some way.
You know, I know, absolutely, I know a situation where, when I was a kid, I grew up across the street from a golf course. And my dad, when I would ask my dad for money, he said, there's plenty of money across the street. And what are you talking about? Well, what he was telling me was, go find golf balls and sell them to somebody. Or something, this is back before they had driving ranges. Anybody ever shag balls? I did that. I caddied for people, worked for 4 or 5 hours and made $5. Of course, I'm not dating myself. But there was plenty of money across the street. So I went over and I would earn my money. But there were people. Well, and I learned how to play golf, and I got pretty good. Not great, but I was pretty good. And we went back a few years ago to play at that course that I used to go find golf balls at. I still, if I walk around there, if I find a golf ball, I pay it. I'm not sure I've ever paid more than for a dozen golf balls in my life. That's the habit that I still have. But in any event, this kid that I grew up with, his dad owns the course, and he says, "How often do you play?" I said, I hardly play at all anymore. I may have played twice in the last 3 years. I just don't have time. I'm too busy. Howard says to me, "You're not too busy." You just have different priorities. You have the same amount of time as anybody else. You just choose to use it differently. We all have the same amount of time. So someone who's too busy is telling you, "No, I don't want to do that. I don't know enough about it. I choose to do something different." Maybe the choosing to do something different is not what the Lord would have them do. There are people who will be presented to this ministry, good intentions and so on, who will say no because they're being called. That's fine. But for those who are being called into the ministry, they will find time. And the Lord will provide the time.
And that's,
So
that's where prayer comes in.
that's right. So what if we've asked them before? I know there are people on your prospect list that you've asked before, time and time again. Are you still praying for them? Has their circumstances changed? We don't know. There was a person in Illinois, when I was a state president in Illinois, who he came out of the woodwork. No one knew who he was. And all of a sudden, here he is at these faith fund rallies. He was the president of a bank. And we had a $5,000 faith fund check came from this guy. And no one knew who he was. So I went to go talk to him. And he said, "I just joined the Gideons 6 months ago. They've been after me for 20 years to join this ministry. And I joined, and wow, I can't believe it. I wish I had joined 20 years before." Well, we do too. You're going to write a $5,000 check. But you never know. You never know. You never know. So you have these people, circumstances change. Things change. So what if we've asked them before, what if they're too busy? What if? So, we put down the names, we think about them, we pray about them. So where do you find them? Okay, now we've already talked about some of these things already, but you got them then in your phone. I got about 500 people in my contact list on my phone. Chances are you've got a bunch of names in your phone that you don't even think about. That are possibilities that you can put on your who you know sheet. Your church directory, Shepherd's Guide. I don't know if you have in this area or not. It's like a Christian business directory, you know, for a different thing. What if they're Catholic? Well, still, it's a funny. But think about it. Maybe you have to talk to them, maybe witness to them. Who knows? You don't know. But usually, if someone's a moral person that does business in a proper or respectful way, chances are they probably have a faith of some kind going on that gives you an opportunity to speak to them, talk to them, find out where they're coming from. They are also in your heads. And when they're usually in your heads, you're usually afraid to put them down. Because you've already in your mind written them off because they won't join. You don't know. Okay? Once we put these names on the sheet, you transfer them to this, or you can put them directly in the connection. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Right here, in the connection. When you pull up, you have in the membership area, you've got two little places in here where you can, well, this is in your camp page. You got view and update your members, and view and update your prospects. When you click on that, yep, I did that, I put it in the wrong spot. A form like this will pop up. And you can actually type in the information in there. This is being revised, I believe, to have address and so on in there. And then you can actually print this out and have it at your camp permit meeting, and you can pray for the people on the prospect list. You give the prospect list also to those in the auxiliary. Let them pray for them. I'm suggesting the names that we have on these sheets right now, that you tabulate them, go to your camp, get a similar list from others in your camp, do the same thing, and put them in your prospect list. Don't let them just go sit there and sit. Craig Warner at headquarters, our international, the executive director of this ministry, is concerned about something. I'll tell you what he's concerned about. He's afraid that we're going to get all these prospect names by doing meetings like this and putting them in the prospect list and letting them sit there. We were successful. We've got a big prospect list. But I'm going to say this. If you don't have a prospect list, if you don't have a backlog, so to speak, you're not going to get anybody. Where are they going to come from? They need to come from you. They need to come from your camp members. Give it to your wife. Maybe she's like Peggy. And she'll start coming up with more. We did a meeting like this in Cornell, New York. There were 16 people in that meeting from 2 camps, men and women. We asked everybody to turn their sheets over to the state membership quarter icon, who was sitting right there at the end, just like Brent is. And as I was finishing up, he started counting the names. You know how many names we got from those 16 people? Cornell, by the way. Anybody familiar with Cornell, New York?
It's out in the woods.
It's high on the hill. Big ravine.
Big ravine. You know how many people live there?
Is that Cornell or Cornell?
Cornell.
Cornell, is it?
Not Cornell. Cornell. 10,000 people live there. There's 10,000 people who live within probably 3 blocks of this parking lot. Okay, so they all know each other. They all know who the guy who runs the feed mill is. Okay, I don't want to make it too much of a cow town, but it's small. The neighboring camp that came is Bath. You know how many people live in Bath? Half as many as lives in Hornell. 2 camps. They got 160 106 names, unique names. 106. They had a joint AMD. What they did for 3 months, they prayed for these names. They had 16 men, I believe 11 women come to say they were going to come to the dinner. Of those, 12 showed up. That's still a great ratio. Okay, so you had 12 of them that got there, and 7 or 8 ladies that were there. To date, of those 12, between the 2 camps, 8 have joined. Now these are 2 camps, one had 17 members, another had 12, but that's a pretty good shot in the arm. And to start to encourage them to come. Albany. We lived in Albany. This last year, they didn't have an AMD. Horrors. Right? But they had this meeting, and they wrote down the names. They put down their insurance man. They put down their teachers. They put down the people that are on the board of their church. They wrote them down. They put them on their prospect list, and they prayed for them. They just had a regular camp meeting. They talked about regular, boring camp meeting stuff. They had a regular, boring dinner. They took an offering. They talked about some of the things that they're going to be doing, some of the distributions they're going to have. They had 9 men there that were coming, that were their guests, that came from this sheet. 9. And what they did is they said, we need you guys. We got a lot going on. We need you. How many are you? How many are with us?
Seems like that. I never came back.
I don't know what they were drinking that night. But I asked them, I said, what did you do? I wanted to know what you did. All we did was ask. We just told them what we're doing, and we asked them to join us when needed. And I think that they are having fun in that camp. You know, who'd want to be involved in a camp where it's nothing happening, or you know, or it's a waste of time, or you got something else better to do. So we put them in our prospect list, and this is a copy of the opportunities worksheet I was talking about before. All the different opportunities and things that they could do. What can you know, when you start talking about somebody who's interested in the Gideons, I think that's what you had with that lady or someone that might be a friend, right? You know, some people don't qualify. You know, some people don't qualify to be a Gideon, as you all painfully know, right? Well, you can pray for the ministry. Pray more effectively for the Gideon ministry. Or building relationships with churches. I love that. I think that's, you know, a critical thing to do. But some people think they don't like that. They're afraid of that. You know, so but then encouraging other camp members. Some people in this room are a big encouragement to others in their camp. You know one of the best ways to be an encouragement for your people in your camp? Show up. It's a big help. Enlisting new members in the Gideons. Some people are really, really good at that. Helping to plan camp activities. Signing up friends of Gideons. On and down it goes. This is also found in Connection. And it's a great piece that you can have. Gentlemen, why don't you put your name at the top of this once you get these back. But I do want to count them up to see what the Lord gave you guys tonight. And then we'll get them back to you. I'm going to give them over here red. Well, I'm going to count up the number of names that are on there. This is just to find out what happened. But you're going to get these back. And the reason you're going to get them back is like what we're going to do. We're going to take them and we're going to put them into the connection of your own camp on your prospect list. And then for when is your those in here, Ren, how many, when is their when's the AMDs? When are we gonna have, some already planned?
Well, yeah, Sussex is on November 14th. October the 13th for, no, that's Middlesex. We're gonna have one in the first week of November. I haven't heard back from the others who I've been trying to beat over the head, but
January.
Huh?
That's like, it's on the plan, January.
it is? Okay, what's the date? The 9th of
January.
January.
Well, it doesn't look like
Middle of
any of them is happening before 8 weeks. That's fine. Even though that the planner goes a year in advance, the critical stuff happens in the last 2 months anyway. You can get plenty of your materials and all that stuff and plan for that part. However,
That's number 15.
even though you get these names, I want to encourage you to not do something. I don't want you to call these people and invite them to any dinners. Don't call them. Don't write a letter. Don't do any of that physical stuff. For at least the next 4 weeks, don't do anything but pray for them. Pray for them. Get the other names from people in your camp. Encourage them to do this. This isn't silly. This will really do. This will work. You get these names and pray for them. Now, if you should happen to run into them someplace, you might say to them, you know, I'm praying for you. Why? What's going on? Well, just want you to know, you've been on my heart. I've been praying for you. Let the Lord work on their heart. This is a spiritual ministry. Too often, we try to do things in our own strength because we have it figured out. For those people, for those names you had in your mind, if you didn't put them down on the sheet, basically, you've already decided that they don't qualify for whatever reason. They won't join for whatever reason. We need to allow the Lord to work. Let the Lord work. Let him do his things. Now, when you get to when you get in the timeline, I have it's memorized, but about 4 weeks beforehand is when you're going to start the process of writing some letters. Get the auxiliary involved. Have them, because we're talking AMDs here. We're not talking the old new member plans where it's just the men. We want the men and the women. We want them to show that this is a team ministry and that it's important to have us work together. The strongest camps in this ministry are the ones where the auxiliary is strong. So we want to work together with our wives. So what we want to do is we want you to incorporate them. They got some great ideas. They may want to write a letter to the prospective man's wife, encouraging them. Sometimes it's the wives that bring the men along with them. So you send a card or send, a letter inviting them. Have them call and pray for them as well. We want the auxiliary involved in the prayer and then in the time when it comes to calling. I don't want to get into every little detail, but sometimes there's people on your list that you may feel intimidated to call. And that might be also the reason why you wouldn't put it down, because you are almost concerned that you wouldn't be able to invite them. There's other people in your camp or in the state who can call them and invite them. You don't know them. And they might not be intimidated by the person and so on, who that person is. That's fine. I'm sure that there are people in this room who would be willing to call that person that you may be reluctant to call. I joined in a one-on-one meeting when I was at the very beginning. I was 25 years old. I had my son, who some of you met at Zone 9, was a year old. My daughter wasn't born yet. One of the excuses. The people, they got young kids, they haven't got any money. They can't join the rich man's ministry. I had no money. I had no vacation. My children are teens. I had no business being a union, right? But I joined. There were 4 men in my church. What I didn't know was they were praying for me. They were praying for my wife, Kim. They prayed for me for almost a year. Then they invited us to come to the meeting. We joined that night. And one of them, who just died just a few weeks ago, was 93. He comes up to me and he says, "You're going to join?" I said, "Isn't that why I'm here?" You know, but the thing is, the sad part, they started to let it out that they were in prayer for me and the other prospects that were there at that meeting. And the interesting thing was, there was 3 prospects with their wives there that night. All 3 joined. And I believe it's because of the prayer. That's the key. Pick the names. Remove your restrictions from your mind, because those are man-related. They're not God. And put that in the prayer. And leave the results up to the Lord. And don't beat yourself up when things don't go that well. Give the glory to God, and they do. There are some people who should join the ministry for whatever reason. You know, but God knows. So he's looking for our help in that respect, and us to be obedient. And I want to thank you guys for doing this. Did you get all those sheets, Ren?
No, they don't want to give them to me.
I want them to give them back. And then what we're going to do is we're going to give them back. We're just going to count the names. All we're going to do is count the names.
How about the names with the sheet, with the,
We don't have to, just the who do you know sheet will work.
oh, I put them on the regular sheet.
Oh yeah, I know you will do that. But I always want to find out how many names you guys came up with. I'm just curious.
Can I just touch on one thing, or will
Yeah,
you please?
but I want you to count. I want you to count.
Okay, okay. If you would just touch on the current prospect lists. They are ancient and they need to be really cleaned up and however, there may be some names on there that maybe should be contacted. You know, and these old lists should be like dumped, and just the new names, the correct names should be listed plus whatever is new.
What Ren's talking about, you guys may be familiar with. Every campus got their prospect list. Count those up. Count those.
Yes, sir.
I really want to know. Every campus got a prospect list. Some of them are using it, some are not. New Jersey apparently has been using this because there's more names on the prospect list in New Jersey than there is in New York.
We have 534 members. Camp prospect list add up to 700.
So there's names on your list now, okay? But chances are there's names on your list now. Chances are there's names on your list now. Ren brought up a very good point, and he shared it with me on the phone a couple weeks ago, so that we need to clean up this list. There's all these, some of these lists are no good. Well, yes and no. There's probably names on that list where people have been called home. They're gone, they're dead, or they moved. Okay, and that's a very good possibility. So you want to go in there and check to find out if there truly is that case. If they're gone, if they're moved, or if they truly have gotten to the point where threatened you with a gun or bodily harm by keeping in the ask, okay? If it's in a situation like that. So they should be buffered. However, you may have somebody in that list like that banker I was telling you about. But are you praying for these people? Now, I suggested that we give this a shot, give this a go, and pray for them. Pray them corporately and individually. And then when the time comes to call them, they might get a different response than you've had in the past. And you're even afraid to give them a call. That's when we might want to switch it, let someone else call somebody that maybe had difficulty. All of those guys that prayed for me are gone now. 3 of them are dead. One of them has Alzheimer's. He has no idea who he is. And their window was closed. And but I counted it as such a privilege that they thought enough of me to invite me, and they didn't put the restriction on me about I was too young. I'd only been a Christian for a couple of years. Some of you have heard my testimony. So it's like, and yet they took a chance on me and to start to bring me along. My pastor didn't give me the name. They had me eyed up already. And you know the thing is about my pastor, I was a new Christian. I had a million questions. I was bugging the dickens out of him. I was asking him all these questions about different things that, you know, we do. But I was young, molding, and so on. So what he did, when he got the letter about being a Gideon, he couldn't wait to sign it because he wanted to turn me all over to these old men in suits. And they had a great deal to do with me being growing as a believer. And you guys can do that too. There are people you can mentor, whether they be younger or even older. You can mentor them. Okay, I'm beating a dead horse, but I want to know the number of those, and you got to get back to these guys.
I know. I'm coming. I'm happy.
Any questions?
My work's done.
Is it better sometimes to have, if you have a prospect that you know, is it sometimes better to have another camp or another person call them?
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, because, there's a certain thing about familiarity that can work against you too, right? Like Jesus said about cities all like that.
I totally buy into that. I used to not. I used to think it was better than the person that they know the best. But when something means a lot to you as well, sometimes it's hard to relate that to somebody that you care about. There's different. The dynamics are difficult. But if you turn it over to somebody else, they can speak to them better, even using the script. And that's not a bad thing. So if somebody you're close to and you're reading from the Gideon script, they know that you're reading from the Gideon script, even if you have it memorized, because they know you. So I definitely think it's a good thing to do, particularly with somebody may have some prominence even. One of those 4 guys owned 2 furniture stores in Jamestown. His name was on the building. And when I went to that first prayer breakfast, there he was. I was like, I was one of those kind of guys I couldn't approach him. How I thought. I was in a different league. But then when he dropped to his knees and prayed, but I would never have been able to call the name. what someone else did. You know, is that type of person, or whatever it is. Or a buddy or something. Good question.
Totally.
Okay. Well, no, I'm just curious. Who in here had 35?
John Edwards. He's in trouble. He's gotta get 30 of them signed up. You won the lottery, bro.
In this room, we had 83. That's almost identical to like the national average. It usually works out to about 6.5 to 7 per page. And that's even with me badgering you, okay? But when we have one that's 35, the other ones are much lower, all right? Take these and think and pray. Go through your church directories and prayerfully consider putting them down to somebody that you can pray for. But take these back and put them in, those are all the same camps. Maybe you don't have, there may be some duplicate names, okay? You'd want to purge those out, and so you would have ones that are unique. And would you do that? Would you pray for them? Sure. I'd be willing to say that you will have more prospects at your meeting, and then when you use the timeline and you're planning in advance, the quality of your meeting will also improve, and you'll have better results. It's should the Lord care. I don't know about you guys, but I've gone, like particularly in the international convention, and hear some testimonies from around the world, and hearing about how the Lord's opened up different countries, particularly behind the Iron Curtain back in, you guys are old enough to remember when the Soviet Union, I just think, how can the word of God be right? But first my word must be published among all nations. How can this happen in China, Russia? How can that be? And then as the Gideons were opening these countries, one after another, and again, this was the printed word. We weren't thinking about electronic word. We weren't thinking about the internet. The word of God is published in all nations. We are what the Lord's called us to do. I used to think like God's using the Gideons. Are we still relevant?
Would it be possible to have these names that were written on the face sheet to be put on this sheet? And if somebody wants someone to be called, that's an excellent point. Someone else could call them. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't know if we can make that decision tonight about who should do it, but
we should talk about it, that they can email me and say, listen, here's my sheet, or here's the name and the phone number. Could someone please call him when the time comes? You know what I mean?
You enter those names into the connection under your membership of your camp. And with the prospect list, you can print out a sheet very similar to that, with that information.
But it's a good thing, and I'm, cross-pollination, what you want to call it, by calling these people. It's a good thing. It takes pressure off. It's a good thing to do. But as you get closer to that date, you don't want to call your prospects really too far in advance. 2.5 to 3 weeks is about as far out as you want to go. And then, but to get them in the date. But you don't want to just leave it to that. You know, again, follow the timeline and the information in the manual, because you will want to follow up with letters and a reminder call. If you have to pick them up, pick them up. Don't leave it to chance. It's just like the same kind of thing about waiting to the very end. Anything else?
We've been kind of bantering about like having a little more informal, like meetings. Sometimes like instead of having the AMD, sometimes the AMD are set up where some people feel a lot of pressure. We talk about, you know, and then it's a sign. But the other thing is maybe like the group that you referenced earlier, where they invited 9 people to the regular meeting, and then they said, no, we're doing all this and we really need your help, and all 9 of the guys signed up. So that's.
I don't think they were all surprised with, I think they all knew why they were doing it. You know, I think they were very clear that they were going to ask them to join. And it was, so they didn't pop the question out without, you know, as a surprise.
No, what I meant to say was instead of having a formal AMD, they really just, like you said, they had kind of like the regular camp.
You know, there is no, yeah, it just, the thing is that was like, I was so surprised to hear how they did it and had results that were that good. But there's reasons behind that, of course, you know, because they had done their homework somehow or whatever they had done. They were, obviously they had it figured out what their strategy, shall we say, was, because it worked. And I'm trying to get them to tell me what they did. I think they're almost afraid to tell me. But but they did try, I'm sure of that. But they were definitely right. Now, in terms of like dress and all these other things, like the AMD dinner, of course, has a script, PowerPoint, testimonies. It's very similar to the membership dinner thing. They tend to be very formal and tend to be, you know, almost intimidating to someone. We talk about these things all the time, about what's the right approach and so on. We know one thing is the right approach is how the Lord directs and guides will live in sincerity. Is there an absolute? We tend to think that there's some guidelines that you should follow that does help ensure success, because you don't want to be so haphazard that it doesn't make any sense. But by the same token, dressing like you are tonight makes sense. A jacket here, open collar, polo shirt, and so on is not a bad thing, because people do dress like this for their professional work now. You know, so you know we don't need to be like overdressed. We don't want to be underdressed either. We want to look the part and we're serious. But by the same token, we don't all have to have the spit shine. You know, so we want to represent what the community is like. My camp's a farm camp, for instance. We have more farmers than anything else. Our camp meetings, dungarees, bats, man, not unusual at all. Not at all. That's my camp. Orchard farmers, you know. Dairy farmers, yeah, wow. So, anyway. More? Less? Done?
Mhm.
Don't want to rush you off. I'm here for all night. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Get on that camera.
I'll shut it down.